young people are being over-diagnosed with mental health conditions. That is according to the former Health Secretary and Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. He's backing calls for a radical overhaul of the special educational needs system as part of a report by the Policy Exchange think tank. And we can now welcome to the show Zachary Marsh, who's a research fellow at Policy Exchange. Hello to you, Zachary.
Hello.
Good to have you. And Darren Morgan, who's here too, who's the head teacher at Kings Road Primary in Stockport, Manchester. Darren, welcome to you.
Hello.
Thank you too for joining us, Darren. Zachary, can I ask you first? Your Policy Exchange report is titled "Out of Control." The special educational needs and disabilities system within our schools it's simply out of control, costing too much. Too many people, youngsters, kids are on it. Just explain that view.
Absolutely. So in the last few years, we've seen a huge spike in the caseload accessing both our SEND, so our education support for children with mental health and neurodivergence, the welfare system and the mental health support for children and young people. 48% increase in mental health caseload over the last few years. We've seen an 83% increase in the number of applications for EHCPs, which are for the children with the most severe SEND needs. So we've seen this enormous increase, and that there's been widespread acceptance that there is something going on here. But what our report tries to do is to puncture the popular consensus that has existed until now, that this is all being driven entirely by both worsening mental health among young people and greater awareness of mental health in the population. Now, we don't deny for a moment that that's a significant part of the picture, but what our report draws upon is that actually there are misaligned incentives that are in too many cases actually encouraging people into the system and what we've termed diagnosis-seeking behaviour, which is having pretty damaging effects. It's massively increased the expenditure. DLA has doubled in about a decade. That's disability living allowance, the welfare benefit for these children. SEND spending is now at 11 billion. That's up 4.5 billion in a handful of years. And the real tragedy here is that actually it's the kids who most need this support who are increasingly being crowded out of the system because of the increased demand.
Right, so Zachary, the essence of your charge is that too many children are getting onto the programme, the Special Educational Needs Programme, far too easily. Can you give me Can you give me some evidence to support that? The numbers have shown a significant rise, but that essential charge that it's too easy, it's too dominant in education. Can you support that further suggestion?
Of course. So the big challenge that we have with the SEND space is basically these misaligned incentives I mentioned earlier. So one of the core challenges that we have is that the thresholds are very, very low, and very subjective. So SEND is defined in a very cyclical way in the legislation under the Children and Families Act. It means that you have SEND if you require additional support, but we never actually define what that looks like. And so you can end up with a situation where, children and different local authorities and different schools can define that very differently. And lots of children are being admitted under this very cyclical, very subjective definition. The real problem lies with the HCPs, which is for these high need individuals. But actually, the threshold for that is very low, to the extent that last year, 94% of the HCP applications were agreed on appeal. And you can see this if you follow the discourse among parents on places like Mumsnet and Reddit. There is a growing understanding that if you really want to get an EHCP for your child, if you're willing to push the system long enough, you will get it. And in fact, in the course of this report, we spoke to local authorities who were saying, actually, we're ceasing to fight some of these appeals because we know they're going to get overturned because we just can't defend the appallingly low thresholds that have been set in legislation. And so one of our recommendations is to raise those thresholds to ensure actually that we have a better definition of need for these conditions.
Okay, right. HCPs, health and care plans.